And welcome back to the fifth ever episode of the Sportsgasm podcast, the podcast made by fans for the fans because we think we are so qualified to talk about our teams. I'm your co-host, Isaac.
I'm Kylee.
And today with us today, we've got Steven, our resident Patriots fan. We're going to be talking to him about the Patriots. Also in today's episode, we'll also be talking about all the drama in the NFL, how bad the Pro Bowl was, little dabbling into the NHL, of course, MLB, some drama going over there, and our preview of the trade deadline for NBA. And just as I'm saying this, I'm getting more notifications of another major trade, so I'm going to have to look that up. But first and foremost, we're here to talk with Steven. Steven, how are you doing today?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming on the show. So Kylee, you want to start off with the questions?
Absolutely, let's do it. So, first off, we got Mac Jones now. How did you like the pick at first?
So first of all, I hated Cam Newton. So I want to say that, right? I've been a notable Cam Newton hater since he was signed. I thought it was going to be him versus Jarrett Stidham the whole time. And then they just gave it to Cam. I didn't think Cam even deserved the spot on the first day he was signed.
I sympathize with you there because I have
Yeah.
hated Cam Newton since he entered the league. So
That
as
was
a
gonna be
Tampa
my
Bay
next
fan,
question. How you felt about Cam Newton?
as a
Yeah,
Bucks
I
fan, he went to Carolina. We can't have him anywhere.
I don't go that far back with my hatred since Cam. But yeah, so I thought it was going to be him versus Jarrett Stidham. That obviously didn't happen. They just gave it to Cam. And then I thought when they re-signed Cam that it was his job again. I thought they were trusting Cam to have another year, see what they can do, and then this next draft go in and see if they can get somebody. In my last mock draft, I do about 3 per year. I had the Patriots not picking Mac. I forget who I had them picking, but I had him falling to Washington at 19, which I still like that spot a lot for Washington because you had Taylor Heineke, who I made a video on saying that I think Ryan Fitzpatrick should have been the clear-cut starter, and everybody was on the whole Taylor Heineke train. Obviously, he's the more popular player. But getting back to the whole thing, I liked the pick. I had him as my QB3 coming out of the draft, only behind Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson. I wasn't high on Fields or Lance. So yeah, I like the pick. He was a safe quarterback, and everybody's calling him a lot higher than I think he is. I think he's roughly around 15, 16, and I've seen people pushing top 14 or higher.
I actually like the Mac Jones pick. I thought it was scary. I didn't want him going to the Patriots, knowing what Bill Belichick can do. I just thought it was a deadly combination, and it's turned out to look like that going forward.
I was hesitant about it because Alabama quarterbacks historically don't do well in
Exactly.
the NFL. I mean, prior to the last couple of QBs from Alabama, you have to go back to Kenny Stabler and Joe Namath to find guys that came out of Bama and actually were good. But he surprised me. I think Mac Jones has been a breath of fresh air, a Patriots quarterback that I don't despise. Big asterisk there because the last Patriots quarterback became a Bucks quarterback. So, you know.
Yeah.
I got a question, Steve. So this season, Patriots make the playoffs for the first time since without Tom Brady. And I got to ask, what was your thoughts on this season? 10-7, make the playoffs as a wild card team. Does it feel different as a Patriots fan to, be a wild card?
Does it feel different? Really not. It doesn't feel different to be a wild card versus a first round bye. In my opinion, it's just another playoff year, and every year of my life I've seen a playoff berth. So it's kind of just I'm used to playoff football for New England.
Oh, lucky.
Yeah. Trust me, being a Boston fan, I know how lucky I am to see. The
all
Celtics
your
and
teams are
Patriots.
always good.
And
Imagine living in a city where all 4 of your teams win championships in the last century.
Yeah, so
all love here. All love though.
Everywhere I post my opinions and my thoughts on everything, and on Twitter I posted my predictions for every team's record. And of the AFC East, I got 3 of the 4 teams correct fully. I had the Patriots going 10-7. I got the Dolphins, I believe, correct, and I know I got the Jets correct. And I think the Bills, I was off by 1 or 2 wins, and I thought they were going to be better than they were. Obviously, they had a few games where they fell off a little bit there.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it didn't surprise me this season. I knew the Patriots were going to win around 9 to 10 games. I really like the way that a lot of players like JC Jackson stepped up as CB1 this year, and everybody's been sleeping on him, not putting him in there. I think he's honestly borderline top 5. I think you could push that argument for him, but he's been my favorite this year.
That's fair. I'm not even going to argue that. That's fair.
Yeah, that's pretty fair.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you want the Patriots to target in free agency?
I'm a little hesitant with this because I would love to see Allen Robinson get a chance. But this past season, he was on track for less than 600 yards if he was to play 17 games. I think he finished with only 380 in 12 games. And that's kind of scary to see, in my opinion. If you want a wide receiver 1, you have to go get a guy like Chris Godwin, who you know is still going to put up those wide receiver 1 numbers. And with Allen Robinson, I think he's only 28. So there's still potential for him to keep growing as a player. But that's who I'm really looking at.
For Robinson, do you think that's more of what the quarterback situation was this year? Or do you think it's just a mix of everything?
I think it's a mix of injuries. He just didn't play like an Allen Robinson type season and the quarterbacks. But you look at someone like Darnell Mooney, who I know everybody loves. He put up over 1,000 yards this season. So there's no excuse for Allen Robinson, if he is a true top 10 receiver, like a lot of people think he is, for him to not even be on track for 700 yards this season.
Right.
That's fair.
What positions do you think in the draft the Patriots should really look at?
So I'm the most critical person when it comes to the Patriots. So I wouldn't say I'm big on any platform, but I have almost 4,000 followers on TikTok. And anytime I post something about the Patriots, it's always like, oh, he's not a fan of the Patriots for what he's saying. But I've been so critical on Damian Harris, Ramondre Stevenson, the entire Patriots backfield. I made a video saying Ramondre Stevenson isn't going to be anything. I thought he was the least talented back on the entire roster behind Sony Michel when he was still a Patriot. And then obviously he played well this season. Damian Harris, I think, is borderline top 20. I don't think he has shown that he's this elite running back. He played the Bucs and had like 4 carries for -4 yards. And it's like things like that inconsistency that he shows is what's scaring me. So if we can get someone like Breece Hall, who I think could make multiple Pro Bowls in his career, he's the most talented running back in this class, in my opinion. I would love that pick, helping out Mac Jones, giving him another thing on that offense. And with James White possibly leaving, it's something I'd like to see. He was on a 1-year contract this past season, and he got injured.
I was about to say, I didn't even realize James White was still playing with the Patriots. I didn't see him all season.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
didn't know
think he
much.
got injured in preseason.
As a Philly fan, you're allowed to be critical of your teams. It's allowed.
Yeah.
It's okay. You are still a fan.
I'm glad I'm glad you're critical of your teams, man.
Absolutely.
Like, you know,
no blind fandom.
it's
my
better.
whole family is from Philly also. So.
Wait, so your whole family's from Philly. How'd you become a Patriots fan?
Yeah.
So first of all, my whole family's from Philly, so it's all Eagles. My dad's a Giants fan. He doesn't watch football. My mom's a Vikings fan. That happened when she was young. She started watching an Eagles game that was on, and they were playing the Vikings, and she was rooting against the Eagles just because to get on her family's bad side.
Yeah.
So
That's why I'm a
how she got
Devils
a Vikings fan. But my stepfather, he really sat down and showed me Patriots, and I just started watching them, and it was entertaining, and it was kind of like a thing that we were watching together. So that's how I got Patriots. And plus, I live in New England now. I don't live in Pennsylvania or Philadelphia, so I'm more around Patriots, Giants, Jets, all of that.
Now, when you say he introduced you to the Patriots, was this pre-Brady era or post-Brady era, or during Brady era?
It was during.
Okay, you know what? That's fair. That's fair. If he had introduced you pre-Brady era, that would have been legit. I would have given you props because there's a lot of New England fans who don't know the Patriots existed before 2001.
Yeah, I wasn't born before Tom Brady, so
that's fair enough.
You got Bledsoe.
Yeah,
that's just fun to watch.
Yeah.
Are you
They got-
expecting to fight for the division next year?
Yeah, I think whenever you have Bill Belichick not strapped to a guy like Cam Newton, you have a shot at the division. And you have really, I mean, the Patriots have a lot of free agents coming up. They have Dante Hightower, J.C. Jackson, Juan Bentley, who not a lot of people talk about, but he's also one of our rotating middle linebackers. Brandon Bolden, who's a big guy that's been with the Patriots for years. All these guys are free agents, and they're important parts of the team. So it really depends what we do in free agency and what we do in the re-signing period, in my opinion, if we have a true shot of winning it.
I think it's still going to be a battle. I definitely think the Patriots
Probably.
are only going to get better. I
Oh,
don't see why
yeah.
they wouldn't. I mean,
Personally, I prefer them to, spend a couple years down in the basement so we can, get over the 20 years of trauma they put the rest of the league through. But you know what? I kind of like the Patriots now that, they're not. It's just weird. It's like it's not just because of the Brady effect. It was just during those 20 years, it always felt like the Patriots just had all these players who just I couldn't really like. But
Mhm.
now it's like, you know what? They're all right. They're all right. So I gotta ask, what was your favorite part of last season, man?
Favorite part of last season?
Or favorite game?
Favorite game? Obviously, I just love watching Patriots succeed and look like they're having fun. And they looked like they were doing that against Jacksonville. They
Oh,
were destroying Trevor Lawrence. I think they put up 50,
yeah,
if I'm not wrong.
50 to
And
Yeah.
10. Oof.
yeah, and a good friend of mine, Chill Takes Darian. He's a Jags fan, so I kept like every time the Jaguars would do something, I would just kind of add him and be like, "What's going on with Trevor Lawrence?" And I was just watching him on like Twitter just go crazy. He's just like, "Stop making Trevor throw the ball. We've lost. Just accept it."
Ugh. It's that game. That was the Patriots were. It's weird. The Patriots put up 250 burgers this season, and
Mhm.
like it's so bizarre to me because I don't remember during the Brady years. Obviously, they always put up big point numbers, but they never seemed to put up that many points. And for them to do it twice in the same season was just, it's filthy.
Yeah,
I enjoy watching the Patriots now. I really like
Yeah.
Mac Jones.
yeah,
I gotta say, I think my favorite is the Monday night game against the Bills when y'all threw the ball 3 times. That was
yeah.
just fun. That was like that was the most ingenious game planning I've ever seen. Bill Belichick looked at the Buffalo weather radar and straight up said, "Mac, you're sitting on the sidelines for this one. We're just
Mhm.
giving the ball. We're running the ball every damn down," and it worked.
Yeah. I mean, that is the type of football that he loves to play: defense and run. It's just
Yeah.
hard-nosed football. It's what he loves. But yeah, going back to Ramondre Stevenson and talking about the big point games, his best games were games where we destroyed other opponents. And I don't really know how. Obviously, you're going to win more games when you're able to run the ball better. But it's also like, can Ramondre do well when we're not completely blowing out another team? His two best games came, I think the only two games he had 100 plus rushing yards were when we scored a combined total of 98 total points. And
Wow.
that's kind of, in my opinion, frightening and why I would love to see Brees Hall.
Yeah,
Big
Remind me,
Brees Hall
what college is Brees Hall on again? Where did he
guy.
go?
Iowa State.
Iowa State. Okay, that's where he's from. I was trying to put a name to a face. Like, where does he go to? Right,
Yeah,
Iowa State.
they also have Charlie Kohler, the tight end, who I'm also pretty big on. I have him as my tight end one.
What is it with the state of Iowa and pumping out tight ends? Like Iowa and Iowa State are just tight end schools.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen people try to push like Stanford being a tight end school, and I'm like, no, you gotta look at
No.
Iowa.
No, it's those big Midwestern white boys eating all that corn and working in the fields when they're kids. That's how they get all big and strong.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can even say that. You know what? No, I can say that. Um, so I think we need to address the elephant in the room. And unfortunately, I don't know why this question was put on the list of questions, Kylee. But Brady retired, and for the second week in a row, we're gonna have to talk about it. How do you feel about the retirement and his legacy at New England?
So How do I feel about the retirement?
Yeah.
I was notably upset about it. Um, Considering I believe it was 2017, 18, one or the other, when he was interviewed after a game, and they always interview Tom Brady because it's obviously Tom Brady, so why not?
Mhm.
And they're like, "How long are you going to keep this going for?" And he said, "I'm going to keep going until I can't play football anymore." So I took that and I fully believed that. He's shown this past season that he can still play football. So
Yeah.
when
Absolutely.
everybody was like, "Hey, do you think he's going to retire?" There's a chance. All these like Ian Rappaport rumors were coming out, and I was like, "No, I don't believe a single thing that I'm hearing. I think he's going to come back this next season. He's going to keep playing until he literally can't play football anymore." And in his documentary, Man in the Arena, he was also saying he doesn't want to sit on the couch and be watching football and be like, "I could go out there and play better than this guy right now."
Right.
So I was upset that he decided to hang it up and early, but it is what it is. He has to do what's better for him and what's better for him and his family. And like he said in his retirement post, if you're not 100% in, then don't act like you are.
So people about that post, people are actually blowing it out of proportion a little bit, at least the way I think it is, about how he didn't mention any Patriots stuff in the retirement post. And I have to ask, how do you feel? Like, what's your side of it?
I don't think he had to. I mean, I don't really think it was needed for him to be like, "Oh, thank you to the 20 years I spent in New England." He kind of already did that when he left New England the first time. He thanked
That's what I said.
everybody and he sat there and kind of reflected on his time in New England multiple times before he even retired.
Hmm.
And then even after that, he would like repost stuff on his story about things like Julian Edelman would post. So he was still like mentioning the Patriots, just not in that one post. And I thought that was kind of ridiculous that people were getting upset about that.
Okay, so I'm glad I'm not the only one that thinks that because I've obviously seen so many people say the exact opposite.
Am I the
Yeah.
only one here out of the loop who didn't see people freaking out about this post?
No, I definitely saw it.
Ah,
Yeah,
I guess I'm not. I guess I'm not on social media as much as I thought I was.
yeah, it's definitely like it was. Especially well, on the sports news outlets, that's what people were saying, and they of course were blowing everything out of proportion like the news outlets do, and
Mhm.
they
Can't
were
even
just
watch
going
ESPN
insane.
anymore because of that. So yeah,
Mm.
I know I said this last week, but I'll say it again. As a Bucks fan, I'm grateful he spent his last 2 seasons here. But I'm gonna miss him. But I'm also kind of relieved because now this means people will, when they talk about the Bucks, they won't just talk about Tom Brady's Bucks. It'll be, oh, the Buccaneers.
Mhm.
So that was the one thing I loved that we had Brady, but I also hated it because it brought the media with him, and it was like,
Yeah.
people are finally paying attention to us, but they're only talking about Brady, and they're not talking about all the other good players we have. Is this what it was like to be a New England fan? I'm just curious.
Yeah. I mean, when you had like real guys playing like Malcolm Butler when he was playing like a elite corner, you had guys talking about him. You had Gronk being
Yeah.
brought up a lot, but it's all the guys that were never really talked about, like Dion Lewis, who was an
Oh yeah.
instrumental part in the offenses. He never got talked about. It was always Tom Brady's offense.
Dion
And
Branch won a Super Bowl MVP, and people rarely mention it.
yeah. Um, but yeah, a lot of people that weren't like big names or elite players at their position got swept under the radar, and that's why when Dion Lewis, for example, left, he said that he felt he was disrespected, um, and he wanted more money than what we offered him, and everybody was saying it's Tom's team, and this guy is just here for the ride. He was a product of Brady, and I mean, if you look at what he did in Tennessee, he really didn't do anything.
Hmm.
So who knows?
It's a shame too, because he was really good at. I remember he was really good with
Yeah,
the Patriots.
I had a Dion Lewis jersey. It was my favorite one I owned, and it was all like worn out because of how much I would wear it.
See, the Patriots always strike me as an interesting team during their dynasty because they never had like one true like solid running back. Like you think of all the dynasties in NFL history, and they always have that one guy that they can turn to the backfield. Like the Steelers had Franco Harris, the 49ers had Roger Craig, the Cowboys had Emmitt Smith. The Patriots never had that. They always had a different guy in the backfield each year. Kevin Falk, um, Dion Lewis, James White, what's his name? Rex Burkhead. I don't know why I couldn't figure out his name, but it's weird. Like their 20-year dynasty, they didn't feature they didn't have that solid running back, and that's just a weird thing.
It just kind of proves.
Yeah, but they had LeGarrette Blount. He's the closest thing that you're gonna get to
They
a
did have him.
solidified running back. He led
Love
the league in
him.
rushing touchdowns in 2016, I believe.
Yeah, he did.
Mhm.
They had Steven Jackson the year before. I'm just remembering. They
Yeah,
had Steven Jackson.
they had Steven Jackson and Joey Iosefa, who no one's gonna remember.
Who?
Joey
Exactly.
Iosefa.
Joey
He wa-
Iosefa.
He was a running back, fullback, that had to play running back because that was the year that notoriously every Patriot was injured, to the point where Tom Brady at one point was the leading rusher of healthy players on the team. He had
Wow.
like 58 rushing yards. And we had to bring guys like Joey Iosefa in. We had to bring guys like Steven Jackson in just because we had nobody to run the football.
So I'm
Wow.
looking up Joey Iosefa. Okay, I should know who Joey Iosefa was. He was drafted by the Bucks. Okay, that's why he was waived. He was waived during final roster cutdowns. That's why I didn't recognize him. Okay.
Yeah, if you ever want to play like a name a random player game, Joey Iosefa is always the guy to go to.
Oh man, I love that game so much because there are so many players in NFL history that just get forgotten
Mhm.
about. Like, here's one. Kylie, who did Jazz Jackson play for?
I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah, I made that name up.
I was gonna,
No.
okay.
You get the point. Like, you could make up a random name and make up an entire story about their career. People would believe you because there's so many players whose careers, just go under the radar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, who stood out to you? Like, obviously, Mac Jones was impressive this year, but who else stood out to you the most?
Like I said, JC Jackson really took that leap for me. But I'd also have to say Kendrick Bourne. I'm gonna keep referencing these videos that I make. Last season I made a video of players that would do better in different locations, and I always put like a thumbnail for all my videos, and the thumbnail was Kendrick Bourne because I thought he was on that verge of being one of those players that could like really play well on a different team, and he showed that this year. He had like over 900 yards and like 6 touchdowns, I want to say, and it wasn't like, oh, he's just getting these short little routes and running for extra yards, right? He was against Tennessee. Against Cleveland. He had this one ball where it was thrown and 2 guys jumped right on top of him and he held on to it, showing those strong hands that he has. And he was also against Tennessee. He took like a little over the middle route over all the way to the house. And it's that one video that I guess you guys might have seen where Bill was showing like the little stiff arm thing, making fun of it and having fun in the locker room. Everybody's like, "Oh, Bill is having fun. It's going to be a good year for the Patriots." But yeah, Kendrick Bourne really impressed me this year. I knew he was going to do something like this, and if he went to a new location, though.
What happened with Isaac?
Oh, I'm still here. I just had to turn off video for a second.
Oh,
Something just fell over in my room.
I was gonna say.
No worries. No
Disappeared.
worries.
Okay, well, let me.
I'm still here. I'm still here. It's just a disembodied voice.
Let me edit that out. I was so confused. I was like, wait.
Okay, sorry.
There we go.
Had to get it. I wanted to keep the conversation going, but at the same time, I was like, I
Gotta
don't want
pick that
people
up.
watching. Okay,
All right,
sorry about that. Okay, keep going.
go ahead, Isaac.
You're good. But yeah, so Kendrick Bourne really took that step for me that I knew he could. I was really disappointed with somebody else in the receiver room, Nelson Aguilar, who I didn't expect anything from. But the fact that you're paying him $11 million a year thinks that you have something in him. So I was like, okay, maybe I could be proved wrong. Maybe this is the year Nelson Aguilar does something, and he just didn't.
Your first mistake was placing faith in Nelson Aguilar.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I would say the contrary to that is me placing faith in Josh McDaniels, but I had no faith in Josh McDaniels to start.
Fair enough.
I blame a lot of Cam Newton's decline on Josh McDaniels.
Are you glad he got a job in Oakland?
I'm glad he got out of New England. if
You do
that
realize he's going to be back, right? Like
he's not going to be back. I
it
know.
always happens.
Yeah, I'm fully aware of this, but he's not coming back. I need to believe that for me to be happy every now and then.
Joe Judge is back.
Yeah, that I'm fine with. Anybody but Josh McDaniels. That's the one guy that you can noticeably pick out and be like, what are we doing here? We haven't seen that in New England in a long time because it's just been success after success.
Mhm.
But when you watch Patriots play on like 3rd and 10, we'd be running a running back screen with Rex Burkhead. And I don't have any faith in that happening where he's picking up those 10 yards. Obviously, Houston does if they're re-signing him again this year. But
Dude, thank you so much for coming on. It was
Yeah.
awesome. I know you do a lot of draft stuff and talk about the draft. So once the draft happens, if you want to hop on again, we'll hit you up.
yeah, that works for me. Just let me know.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thank
Jay.
you so much for coming
you.
on, man. We appreciate it. You want to tell the people where they can follow you on social media?
Yeah, so TikTok, Twitter, and Discord. You could just do ELSPEDD, Elsped. I'm on everything basically except Instagram because I couldn't get that username.
Ah,
But believe
It's
it or
already
not, somebody else
taken?
had it. Yeah, from my account from like 2007. And I messaged little tangent here. I messaged the person that had the account because I just looked up the name they had in the bio.
Mhm.
And I was like, hey, do you have access to this account? They go, yes. I was like, can I just have the username? And they were like, you have to pay me.
Oh
like,
my
I
God.
was like, no, I'm not doing that.
No, absolutely
So-
not.
So then I
That's-
just didn't even worry about growing Instagram since it's the hardest platform to grow on.